closest people that I know that defend, believe, love Dr. Hyles, you could not ever, in any sense of the imagination, say they worship a man. Never. Really? Honestly, man worship? Come on. Back up. That's not man worship, okay? To honor, to esteem them very highly for the work's sake.
Hello, Jeff Dollar here. Today I would like to speak on the issue of the danger of personality cults. I do wish to give the benefit of the doubt to those who may be offended by using this term in reference to Dr. Jack Hyles and others in the IFB movement, but it is something that you don't see until you're on the outside looking in. Dr. Hyles was a master at self-promotion. We were taught that as pastors we were to encourage our congregations to do the same thing with us, to use the title pastor, to not permit them to call us by our first names. And we could observe how he did this by following his examples. Dr. Hyles utilized his portrait in many of the church promotions over the years, such as on mugs, church calendars, and even on toys, that's plastic toys with the little dots in them with the eyeballs. There was a picture of him in that. I'm sure some others will be able to remind me of some other things that they had seen. One could say that this was harmless, just a way to honor the pastor, but it went far beyond that. You could never utter a single word of criticism regarding the pastor, question his preaching or teaching, without severe ramifications. If you were a student, you could expect expulsion. We viewed him as almost superhuman, a prophet or apostle who could do no wrong. That type of thinking could be very dangerous. It is not far from the kind of devotion one might show to a Jones or David Koresh. And what I'm going to share today is the possible deadly consequences that type of thinking may lead to down the road. What I'm about to share is something out of the ordinary, and because there are people still living involved, I'm not going to name any names. When my wife and I were married, we moved into an apartment in Hammond, a few blocks from First Baptist Church, and had several Hyles-Anderson students and their families as neighbors. One family we came to know very well. You could even say that the lady became my wife's best friend while there. Her husband was probably the kindest, most generous, and humble man that I knew as a student. To my knowledge, he was not a staff member, but he worked in a position that would make him very visible. If you were there at that time, you probably would remember him. You will see why I don't want to mention their names, for reliving these events would bring much hurt to those who are still alive. The purpose of this video is to show just how destructive the mindset of Hyles fundamentalism can be. Obviously, not all those who fall under its spell will end up like this lady, but it does show the danger of having blind loyalty to any human being. After leaving Hyles-Anderson, we kept in touch with this family as often as we could. Although they lived in another state, we would sometimes try to stop in and see them in our travels. At one point, we found out that the couple was splitting up, and we lost touch with them altogether. As the years passed and then the internet became popular, we did a search for them, and what we found shocked us. A newspaper article and another blog article told a horrendous story. The lady, my wife's friend who had babysat our children, my wife had babysat hers, had convinced one of her sons to kill the other and to help her commit suicide. There's another article concerning this. This is all I could find on the internet about this. Apparently it was quite a while ago. A family organized itself into a violent religious cult, according to police, who last week uncovered the bodies of a woman and her son. The woman, the cult's leader, had assisted in her suicide, and her son was bludgeoned to death after he rejected the family's religious beliefs, authorities said. The son lived with 7 family members on a 2-acre site. His body was discovered Friday at the family's gated residence. The mother was also buried in the property, but in a shallow grave. She, the family's matriarch, had convinced her family to take her son's life and to help her die by carbon monoxide poisoning. She believed herself to be transformed by God and that she was to be reincarnated as Jesus Christ, and that she had ordered her son killed, the sergeant said. She said that her other son's grave was dug by family members before he was killed. The brother has been arrested and charged with murder, and so on and so on. She had ordered her son's death. He did not comply with the family practices or beliefs. She told family members that God required her to sacrifice her son because he would not comply. In addition to ordering her son's death, she also convinced 2 family members to assist in her suicide. She told them that she had been transformed by God and that she would return as Jesus Christ. She believed that once she had died, she would rise again and that she would have power and gifts. She died inside an automobile of carbon monoxide poisoning. Her body was taken inside the home and kept there for about 3 days until the stench became unbearable, the investigators said. Her body was also recovered Friday. Authorities said they were contacted Thursday at a revival at church attended by family members. I guess this laid heavily on their hearts, and they told the minister. The minister could not be reached Monday for comment. Basically, he said the family had some disturbing news about a residence in our county. This was from a major newspaper in the area from 2001. How did this happen? What set this woman on a course of thinking which would lead her into doing such things? Now, let me read portions of a letter that she had written to my wife. My wife wrote her. This was right after the scandals which involved Jack Hyles and Vic Nischik and George Godfrey. My wife wrote her a letter and asked her what was going on there, because we had no idea, and I was being questioned. We were both being questioned about the situation at Hyles-Anderson because we were from there. And so my wife wrote her a letter. I also, by the way, wrote a letter to a staff member, and I was excoriated for that, just for the sake of questioning the character of Dr. Hyles. Dear Tammy, received your letter a few days ago, and I was thrilled. Thanks for writing. I hope you won't stop writing me. I think of you often and like to hear about you and the children. I live about 3 hours from First Baptist Church. My pastor teaches a class at the college 2 days a week, and her brothers still go to the college. So they have kept us posted on the junk that's going on there. I'm not going into detail because I don't have time, but this whole thing started when a member of First Baptist Church was exposed by preacher, that's Dr. Hyles, for being a homosexual. The man was so enraged at Brother Hyles that he went to this man, Mr. Sumner, and started spreading all kinds of lies about Brother Hyles and rumors about many of the staff members at First Baptist Church, faculty at Hyles-Anderson. Brother Hyles wasn't the only one whose name was being smeared by this filthy man. Not only was he a homosexual, but he was doing a lot of other unbelievably filthy things. So now this is talking, I believe, about Vic Nischik. None of this has been proven, that Vic was a homosexual or that he had done horrible things, but it was being talked about, and rumors were being spread about him when he decided to come out with what was going on. His wife had gone to Brother Hyles saying she was going to divorce her husband, and Brother Hyles checked on some things and found out all his wife said was true and that he was a homosexual, etc. They both have been singing in the choir for many years. By the way, if you have an interest in this, I believe the deposition for this divorce is public property, and I don't know if it was Hammond or one of the other. I'm not sure where you can get it, but it's out there. Voyle Glover, in his book, talks about that. Anyway, they tried smearing the names of, and it goes through a bunch of faculty members of the college and church. These are a few that I know of. They were telling all kinds of trash in the newspaper, too. Anyway, none of it is true. Brother Hyles is still as strong fundamental as ever. He has done none of the things said against him. Of course, she wouldn't know this. She wasn't there either. She knew as much as I did. Many stupid preachers canceled speaking engagements with Brother Hyles at their church all across America. They were being all loyal. Now, please note that. I mean, all loyal is not a word that we use in the regular world. But at Hyles-Anderson, all loyal, all kind of is a term that I think was used, if I recall correctly, to describe someone who wasn't completely given over. They weren't criticizing, but they weren't 100% supporting either. They were kind of in the middle. They were being all loyal and didn't want Brother Hyles at their church until it was proven whether or not these rumors were true. Now, this is common sense as a pastor. If all of a sudden something breaks out and some moral scandals come to the surface, as a pastor, and you have this man coming to preach, you're going to have to say, wait a minute, let's get this thing settled first before you come and see how things are, how they're actually going down. If I was a fundamental Baptist preacher and I did that, I'd be ashamed of myself. Whatever happened to fundamentalists sticking together and being loyal? There's the term again. The loyalty was very important to us. It's trashed and it enrages me. Brother Hyles has given his life to save America and keep it free. No one appreciates it. They just turn and spit in his face by their disloyalty. Usually the first sign of a preacher turning bad is seen through his preaching. Get a tape from Brother Hyles and see if he's changed or if he's changing or faltering at all. He's hotter than ever. He hasn't changed a bit. The devil knows that the only reason God hasn't punished and destroyed America yet is because of fundamental Christians. If he can get them fighting and tearing each other apart, then he knows he's got America. If we Christians don't stick together and fight sin, the devil, America is gone. We don't have time to be fighting each other on these stupid. Men have fought and torn down the greatest preacher in America. The devil is not stupid. He knows if he can destroy from within First Baptist Church and Hyles-Anderson College that America is gone. So he used some wicked men to try to destroy it. But they failed. Instead of splitting the church and Hyles-Anderson College, this persecution has only strengthened them and drawn everyone at First Baptist Church and Hyles-Anderson College closer together. They know that everything that was said was a lie. It not only makes me mad, it scares me to death. America is going down fast. Even people who went to Hyles-Anderson and graduated to go out to different churches to work have turned their backs on Brother Hyles. People love gossip, and they love to see a good man torn down. Instead of tearing him down and wondering if the gossip was true or not, Christians all across America should have been writing Brother Hyles and telling him that they don't believe anything Sumner said against him, and that they were still 100% behind him. Instead, they are continually preaching engagements with Brother Hyles. I think that's the word. What a day in... I can't quite make that out. Some of these preachers were Hyles-Anderson graduates. What a terrible thing. I love Brother Hyles and hurt for him. He's a precious man. I guess any Christian who would believe this trash about Brother Hyles is just too shallow and not close enough to God themselves, because people who believe it just want to believe it. Deep down inside, they enjoy hearing filth and gossip, no matter who is hurting. I am thankful for the Christians who have been loyal to Brother Hyles through all this. Some across America have. God will bless them for it, too. Oh, well, enough of that. I didn't mean to preach it. It just makes me so mad. By the way, Sumner, the fellow who wrote the article, the saddest story in the Biblical Evangelist, found out about a month ago he's gotten some weird disease or something, and he's going completely blind. What a sad thing. All this gossip has pretty well died down now. People are bored with it. I wonder what the devil has to hit with us next. But God's still on his throne. Brother Hyles is getting old. I believe he's in his early 60s, just like me now. He won't be around for much longer. I wonder what America is going to do without him. I'm sure a lot of Christians will be sorry for their disloyalty and loyalty when he's in the grave. I think Christians would want to help him fight and show their love and loyalty to him while he's still with us. I hope you don't think I'm mad at you. I'm not. I'm disgusted with Christians all across America. And then she goes on to some personal things. She closes the letter later. Before I close, I want to tell you again that all the things I said about disloyal Christians, etc., I wasn't meaning you or Jeff. I was talking about churches who had Brother Hyles come preach for them every year or so and know Sumner was lying and still turned their back on him. The problem is we really didn't know, what was going on. I realized that you and Jeff are in the dark about all this and didn't know what was really happening at First Baptist Church. I'm glad you asked me about it, though. I could explain these things to you. I could explain these things to you and help you understand better what's been happening. So this is the letter we received from this lady. Not long after that, we lost contact, and then we discovered a few years later, many years later actually, what had happened to her. It's the mindset of religion without the Holy Spirit. It is giving yourself over to a program and exalting men above more than they ought to be exalted. Now, the letter I received from the staff member after I inquired about it was something that was I don't know if I even be able to read it. It was so insulting to me. I did not keep that letter. I've lost that over the years. I was a staff member of the college that I asked about. He accused me of being a liberal, of being disloyal, and how could I question the character of Dr. Hyles? So the mindset is a very dangerous thing. It might be harmless for a while, but it could lead into something like this. Religion without Christ in the heart. We can exalt men, we can have good doctrine, or what we think is good doctrine, but without having Christ in the heart and exalting man more than he ought to be exalted can have very dangerous consequences. Again, I do want to say, if anybody connected to this has seen this video, I want to apologize to you for bringing it out. I tried not to mention any names to give you any hurt after all these years, but I think it's important that you see that this kind of thinking leads to, and this is perhaps a very extreme example, but there are dozens of many other things that happen. I have personal friends who gave themselves over to this kind of lifestyle, couldn't keep up with it. One of them actually had a mental breakdown, trying to be the things, do the things that Dr. Hyles did, and to be like Dr. Hyles. And he didn't have it in him. He couldn't keep up with it, and had a mental breakdown, lost his family, got divorced. And there are many people that we could point to that suffered in various degrees because of this mindset. This is not a Christian mindset. A pastor is not to be somebody exalted. He is to be the servant. If I walked out on a platform to speak somewhere and I was being cheered and Bibles being read, that would be something that would greatly bother me. And to have my picture as a pastor put on a mug and given out in a church promotion or on anything like that, or have my portraits put up over different places of the ministries, I would be too embarrassed for that. That leads to pride in the heart. So, yes, I don't think people actually worship Dr. Hyles. I don't think that they light candles and bow down before his image. But at the same time, I think that there is a certain amount of exaltation given to men in this movement, which is, at the very least, unsafe and leads to dangerous spiritual things. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. May the Lord bless you in your search for truth.